Today in our 2016 Ford F-150, we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster 7-wire to 4-wire Flexo-Coil Wiring Kit with diodes. Part number is RM-15247. Now our wiring installation, it's going to begin well before we start putting diodes in and things. We're going to get our main wire ran right up here to the front of the vehicle with the bumper off of the truck. That way we're not trying to fight in behind there and just cause ourselves headaches. So I'm going to go in kind of right here by the air box. We'll push my wire up this direction. We'll bring it out in here over to here. Now some of the zip ties will be good to have handy. That way when you do find the correct location you're going to be running this, you can get that zip tied off. You see, you can direct it just to the outside of that radiator there. There's a small gap, so it'll come right out of the hole there. And we'll just run it right across there. That's going to be hidden in behind our bumper, so it's not really going to be anything we have to worry about. There's a small hole right there. We could use a zip tie, and that'll provide us a good anchor point. And you'll see that'll have that held nice and secure. Plenty of excess here so we can come out to our plug. Just let that hang out there, and we'll put a few more zip ties inside the engine compartment just to keep it tidy there. And once we have our bumper and everything back on, we'll run it to the rear of the vehicle. Now for mounting the 6-pole on the front of the truck, what we've done is we've taken one of our long brackets here. Usually this would be flat. And we measured down from the bend 2.5 inches, and we made a 90-degree bend. Able to trim just a little bit off of there. Each truck's going to be a little bit different, so you just trim that off so it's about even with the front edge of your bumper. And then you can see we were able to just use 2 self-tapping screws, and we're able to get it secured just like that. Now what we're going to do is just set that right up here on the back side of this bumper lip. There's a steel lip here. It's going to give us a really nice solid mounting surface, and we won't have to worry about mounting any of our components to plastic. And then again, just a couple of self-tapping screws here to secure that into place. That's going to give you a very nice, sturdy, but very clean looking wiring connection point. All right, now with the help of a couple extra sets of hands here, we can get our bumper put back into position. We're going to connect those fog lights on each side, of course. Now we'll want to loosely start one of our nuts on each side. That'll get our bumper held into position there for us, and we'll hang while we get it adjusted. Now to make our wiring connections, what we'll do is bring our 4-flat wire right through our bracket there. We've got our plug here. We want the hinge part to be facing up. Gives us our 4-pole there. And right on top of there, there's going to be a little screw. We want to back that screw out. See, it's a little short one. If we open that cover, see if we can just push that out. We'll just pass that through the back there. You can see that little black sleeve slides over, so we can slide that up on. We want to save a little bit of extra wire, but the rest of it we can just snip off there. Now, this is a bonded wire, so we just really have to pull on them like that. We can get them separated. We're going to strip back the end of each of those. Now if we have the top of our plug facing upward, it's pretty easy to remember. The top left is going to be left turn. Top right is going to be right turn, so left and right. Just below that we've got tail, and then that one is going to be our ground. So you can see there's a little set screw on each one of those. Let's loosen those up. You can see as we do, that little screw comes out. Gives us a place for our wiring to slide in. Got left, right. Once they're in there, we just tighten our screw down. cover will go right down over it just like that. And something I like to do is let me take a little bit of black silicone sealant and just fill that pocket up. That's going to give you superior moisture resistance. Now we'll just hold that cover open. We're going to slide our connector in. And once that nut lines back up with the hole, all we got to do is thread that back in. Now, just so we don't have multicolored wiring kind of in behind the grill insert there, we're going to use a little bit of electrical tape and go right down over the end of that connector and to give it a cleaner look. Get that positioned on our bracket there. We're going to use the hardware that came with the base plate to get it secured. All right, ready for action. All right, now to finish getting our 4-pole wiring to the rear of the truck there, we're going to run right along with the brake lines here. This should be in a good safe area, of course, so that'll help to keep our wiring in the right area. Now once we get to about this point, I like to start looking for studs or ground connectors or anything like that so we can use an existing factory ground for our white wire. We're going to have one pretty much right underneath the front of the driver's door there. So I'm going to separate the white wire off just by pulling it. You can see it's going to separate pretty easy. I'm going to run it right to that ground stud right there. This will continue on back towards the rear of the truck. And that one we can ground out right there. We use a 13 millimeter and remove that bolt. We're just going to trim that off to the appropriate length. Now the extra wire that you've cut off, it's a good idea to hang on to that. We may be able to use that for a jumper wire in the back. Now we'll strip back the end of that. I'm going to strip it back about twice as long as what you normally would. Twist it up really well. Bend it over in half. Then I'm going to use a ring terminal here with a 1/4 inch opening on it. Get that crimped down. And all we have to do is reinsert our bolt. All right, we're grounded. All right, now we'll take our remaining 3 wires and continue right along here. I like to use plenty of zip ties. Keep everything up nice and tidy, that way we won't have to worry about any wires ever hanging down. Once we get back here to the back, let's get another good anchor in position. Keep all of our slack out. Now we'll start separating these wires just like we did the white wire. We'll just get them all 3 apart. All right, we got our wiring back here in the back. Now let's figure out what we're going to connect it to. All right, now we're going to grab our 8 millimeter socket. We need to get in behind the taillight housing here and figure out what wires we're going to be using. So we've got a bolt right here and also one right here that we'll need to remove. I'm going to just pull out gently. There's a few clips there we'll have to pop. It's going to allow us the room we need to get in to this light. The top light's the one that we know operates the brakes, the turn signals, the running lights. All runs through that one bulb. So this wire loom right here, we'll pull that just a little bit back and expose those wires. Just got 3 wires here to test, so that shouldn't be a big deal. What we want to do is grab a test light and have someone operate the functions from inside of the vehicle while we check and see which one's which. We'll just find a good ground source there. See, we've got the running lights on in the vehicle now. We'll need to see where we're getting our signal. Right, looks like the blue and gray wire is going to be giving us our running light signal here on the driver's side. Now let's check our brake and blinker signal. Now with the turn signal on, we'll do the same thing. Looks like that one's coming through the gray and orange wire. So you want to write that down. All right, now that gray and orange wire here on our driver's side, we're going to test it and make sure it also operates the brakes. Yeah, good strong signal there for the brakes. So the gray and orange driver's side, that's going to be for our turn and stop. The blue with the gray stripe, that's going to be for our running lights on this side. Just to keep everything safe, it's a good idea to disconnect the housing itself. There's going to be a small push tab on that flat side. We can separate that and just set it aside. Now we can run the same series of tests on the passenger side. Sometimes the wires will be the same color, sometimes they're going to be different. Now up in behind the housing, we're going to bring in the brown and the yellow wire. Just bring the slack out of those and zip tie those right off to the existing wire loom that's here. Great news is with putting the diode kit in here is we've got plenty of room to make our connections. The first thing we'll focus on is going to be our running lights here. That's going to be our brown wire connecting into our blue wire with the gray stripe. So we'll snip that. I'm going to strip both sides of this back about twice as far as what you typically see. It's a little bit thinner gauge wire. We want to make sure we get a good connection there. So twist it like that and then just fold it over. Do the same thing for the other side. Now the part that comes from the factory wiring harness will match up our brown wire with that. Trim it off at about the same length. And we're going to double that wire up to give us our jumper wire to head over to the other side. So let's bring those two brown wires together where we just cut it. Twist it, and we can add on that yellow Spade connector. This is the only yellow one in the kit. The tag end, we'll put that right back down where we brought our wiring up through. Now on the end of our factory wire, we can add on our blue Spade connectors there. I just want to give it a good pull to make sure you got a good firm connection there. All right, now we've got an input side and an output side. What this is going to allow is for when we're using our motorhome, it can feed through the diode out to our lights without it getting back into the vehicle's wire. This is a one-way diode. It won't allow any back feed. The same can be said for our truck. We operate our truck, it's just going to pass through this out to the light, and we won't have to worry about it back feeding into that wiring harness. So it's a pretty simple process. Once it's in there, we're just going to plug in the Spade connectors here. That one's going to be done. Next one's going to be our orange and gray wire here. It's going to be pretty much the same routine, only we'll be using the yellow wire in place of the brown wire. It's just going to be a single this time. And then the blue wires are going to be the orange and gray. And once I've got them both wired up, I like to pull the cover over the double stick foam tape there. Just kind of stick them together. And then I'll use a little bit of electrical tape just to kind of go around everything. Ford also had these two stiffer pieces of material there. It's not really a wire or anything, just like a plastic tube almost. So we can use those to stiffen our little connections up here. All right. We get our taillight housing. Plug our connectors in. And then just slide our light back into position. We want to line up the two tabs there. Give it a good pop in. And then we'll just put our two screws back in. All right, now we'll just do that exact same thing on the other side. Just going to be bringing our brown wire from our wire here And of course, we'll be substituting the green wire for the yellow. We'll just tidy up our wiring here. Now the brown jumper wire, that needs to make its way over to the passenger side tail light as well as our green wire. Now of course we're going to need to extend these out a little bit. We don't quite have the length that we need, which can be typical on these longer vehicles like this. When you use heat shrink butt connectors, it'll be DW05744. And you'll use 16 gauge wire. Now that's available on our website as part number 16-1-1. But remember, you have that leftover white wire from when we grounded closer up there to the front. So you might want to consider using that. I think it would be enough to extend both the wires. Just mark it before you run it so you know which is which. All right, let's get these spliced together. Now it doesn't matter which one you want to use for what or which one you want to mark, but I'm just going to use a black marker and just make a stripe down one of them so I know which is which when we get over there. Now for both of our butt connectors, we're ready to get these shrunk down. Now you can use a little torch, you can use a heat gun, or you can use a lighter. Just want to be sure they shrink down all the way, and you'll know when they do because your wire looks like it gets bigger, almost like it's been magnified. And then there's that little bit of clear gel that'll come out of the end. You can kind of see it there. Now we can route our wires over there behind that passenger side housing. Be sure to take advantage of any anchor points so you can get that wiring secured up and out of the way. I'll just poke that right up through that oval shaped hole. It should allow us to get to it at the top and get our diodes connected. All right. The Flexo-Coil is really going to make connections between the RV and the truck very simple. You see it's going to maintain its size, so it's going to keep itself up off the ground. Just want to slide our 7-pole plug right into our 7-pole connector. And we'll bring this back right into the front of our plug. At that point, we'll be ready to run through the lights on the motorhome just to ensure all the lights on the truck are working as they should. Now you'll see without our brake light relay in place, as we apply the brakes in the coach with the blinker on, it gets very, very dim and very hard to notice. That means that the brake lights in our truck are overriding the blinker signal that's coming from our coach. Now to make sure our lights stay bright and visible, we'll also be installing the relay kit. Now with our brake light relay in place, we'll turn that blinker on and you'll see as we hit the brakes, they are not overridden. We still have that full, strong blinker signal, which is going to keep us both safe and legal. Now with everything working as it should, that's going to complete our installation of the Roadmaster 7-wire to 4-wire Flexo-Coil Diode Wiring Kit, part number RM-15247, on our 2016 Ford F-150.
Click the link below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com.